Story 1. Sometimes it's not something that therapy or medication can fix. It's just there. Always. A lifelong companion. It might not be the extreme end of depression, but it's a constant cloud over your head that never goes away. Story 2. It is not just feeling sad or something you can easily overcome. It drains you in ways that are hard to explain. Sometimes it manifests as a complete lack of energy, and other times it feels like nothing at all, even when things appear fine on the outside. This does not mean the person is okay. Story 3. The inertia of well-meaning people often leads to advice about diet, exercise, reading, self-care, and affirmations. I once explained to my sister that being depressed feels like being stuck in quicksand while everyone else is on the beach down the coastline. Antidepressants and a good therapist can help someone pull themselves out of the quicksand and walk onto the beach, possibly with a new perspective, if they can afford it, of course. Story 4. Depression is not necessarily about sadness. I have anhedonic depression, which is the inability to feel joy. This is very different from sadness. During my most depressed times, my favorite movies and shows do not interest me. Games do not hold my attention, and my favorite foods do not taste good. Everything I do, even leisure activities, feels forced or like I am just going through the motions. Story 5. It's not a choice to feel sad. Sometimes you just don't want to get up from bed. Sometimes the things you love feel so empty now. My diet isn't going to help, and neither is exercising. You don't always think negatively. It just happens. Sometimes you can't do anything other than let it pass. Story 6. That it is a medical and mental condition, and it is very serious. It is one of the only mental illnesses that can be fatal. People do not need to have a reason to be depressed any more than they need a reason to catch a cold. Story 7. How physically taxing it is. It's not just mental. At least for me, my body literally feels 10 times heavier. My limbs are heavy. My chest is heavy. When I say I can't get out of bed or that I don't have the energy, I truly mean it. Story 8. Depression doesn't care whether you have food, clothing, a place to live, money, family, a job, friends, social status, or anything else. Depression can happen to anyone, and anyone can be in a deep psychological void. Depression doesn't mean your life is too comfortable. In fact, chances are it's the opposite. Depression is not a sign of being lazy, spoiled, privileged, or ungrateful. Being fed, clothed, and loved will not automatically make a person happy. Material comfort is not a guarantee for happiness. People have emotional needs as well, and you cannot decide for others whether they should be happy. If a person is unhappy, they have a valid reason for it. Mental illness is not a privilege. Mental illness is not a problem limited to any specific group or region. Story 9. One of the most frustrating symptoms is fatigue, not just tiredness but absolute exhaustion. Good sleep rarely improves the situation. You feel utterly worn out, and even the smallest, simplest tasks or chores can completely drain you. Story 10. Finding the right antidepressant is life-changing. I tried 3 different ones before finding citalopram. I reduced the dosage, and now life is good. Story 11. When you're medicated and doing well, it doesn't mean you can stop taking your medication and still feel well. Story 12. If your all-natural, different continent, rare food diet cured depression, it would have been made into a medication by now and prescribed by doctors. If it were curable by exercise for everyone, then doctors would be able to prescribe you a gym membership and provide more support than just telling you to exercise. And if you tell me to just stop thinking about sad stuff, Janine, thank you. I am truly cured. Can you be my full-time life guru? I have some chores you can do, and then I will need a sponge bath and a ride to my psychiatrist appointment. Please sit in with me and listen closely to every word. I wish for you to know the full scope of the matter. Story 13. You can't think yourself out of it. And no, I can't just be happy and magically overcome my depression. I've tried both, and they always fail. Story 14. Depression is an illness. Just because it cannot be seen on an MRI or in blood tests does not mean it is not present. There is much more to learn about mental illnesses. I wish the stigma associated with having one would disappear. Story 15. It's just not taken seriously enough by the people around you. They've watched you struggle many times and they get used to it. I've noticed family only want to talk to me when I'm feeling good and tend to avoid me when I'm not. I know it's hard to get much out of me when I'm feeling down, but it helps me that you tried. Story 16. Sometimes people cannot help their reactions when they are depressed. Yes, at times we overreact and snap quickly, but it is not your fault. We are often just frustrated with ourselves, and it is hard to survive, let alone feel happy. Story 17. There isn't always an event that triggers it or a specific reason. Sometimes you just feel anger towards everyone and everything and want them all to leave you alone. Story 18. It constantly feels like you are about to implode and explode simultaneously. It is crippling, paralyzing, and completely debilitating on most days, sometimes with no cause. It just is. Story 19. It doesn't just go away. It's part of me, and it will always be there. I might be fine, laughing and drinking with friends, but later it comes out and makes me feel bad for having a good day. Story 20. Depression in all its forms is valid. I often hear people dismissing someone's experience by saying they are not really depressed because we have a narrow idea of what depression looks like. Whether it is a lifelong battle or a severe episode, whether it stems from external or internal factors, whether it is trauma from life experiences or chemical imbalances in the mind, or often a combination of two or more factors, all are valid and should not be dismissed. Story 21. Sometimes your skin just hurts, and it can feel like all of it aches at the same time. This sensation can be very distracting. Story 22. I don't want to feel as bad as I can feel. When I'm at my worst, I would give anything to feel differently. I want to be at least content, if not happy. I want to have some excitement about the things I usually do, except for the blanket in my mind. I am truly grateful for my friends who help and support me, encouraging me to step out of my shell as much as I can. They understand that I'm not being contrary. I just struggle to think clearly. Story 23. What really bothers me is when people ask me, "Do you have depression?" Or "You're young, you should be out living life." Or "You'll snap out of it soon." It's not just depression. It's a mental illness that I struggle with daily. I have moments and days when I feel okay, and I can get up and do things. Most of the time, I'm either wishing the day away, trying to get into a television show or a series, but I get bored very easily. I used to love listening to podcasts, but I can't do that now. I used to enjoy reading and could get through at least 3 to 4 books a week. I loved the feeling of getting lost in a book, but now when I think about reading, I don't want to. I struggle to sleep at night. I close my eyes but think about a million things at once. When I feel tired, it gets light outside, and it's another day of surviving. You feel like you're on your own. I have my boyfriend who, God bless him, has seen me at my absolute worst and best and stuck by me. I have my cat who is my world. It's like I've lost myself. I go through each day feeling almost nothing. If someone were to ask me, "How are you today?" my reply would be, "I don't know." I look around my home and think I should be grateful to have a roof over my head. But I don't care. The anxiety controls me. It's as if anxiety and depression have teamed up against me, and I'm just there taking the hits. Sometimes I feel like I want to do things in the evening like laundry or household chores. My neighbor probably thinks, "Why on earth is she vacuuming or running her washing machine at 9 p.m.? They haven't said anything, so I'm guessing they can't hear or don't care. I'll go to do something in the evening and wonder why I didn't do this earlier in the week or today. It's debilitating and so exhausting. Story 24. Depression describes a set of symptoms that can have various causes and, therefore, a range of appropriate treatments. Some cases are not curable, and some are caused by rare issues unrelated to most instances of what we refer to as depression. Additionally, individuals experiencing depression do not end their lives by merely not surviving any more than cancer patients do. Their depression can be terminal. They often fought every step of the way until they reached a breaking point. Story 25. That you are not just being lazy and that helping yourself is not as simple as it appears to a brain that is unwell. Getting out of bed feels like climbing Everest, so suggestions to simply do this or that are not as easy for you, the person who is not experiencing depression, to understand. Story 26. It is not a choice. You do not just snap out of it or pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It is not laziness. It has nothing to do with intelligence or seemingly having it all. It is not having nothing to be depressed about. It is a real illness. It affects every aspect of life. It is not mere sadness. It is detrimental to your ability to function. Many are unable to work, go to school, or even get out of bed. Some wish they were not alive and contemplate ending their lives. It can be treated through therapy, medication, and sometimes other treatments. Exercise and diet can help but do not necessarily cure it. It can be exacerbated by stressful situations, loss, through death, divorce, illness, finances, job, etc. Conflict, relationship issues, financial struggles, and safety concerns. Story 27. Knowing what could help us doesn't mean that we can simply do it. Even if we do it, it doesn't guarantee that it will actually help us. For example, exercise. Story 28. From my experience as diagnosed by professionals as chronically depressed, it's not sadness. It's not a feeling. It's a complete inability to feel anything, just being in a void. Things I used to enjoy are now meaningless. I do them out of habit, but they feel hollow. There are some empty-headed individuals who say, "Go to nature. It heals everything." I still go out to explore nature. I used to enjoy it. Waves of the sea, rocks on the shore, birds, trees, and more. I know those are nice things that used to warm my soul. Used to. There is a chemical imbalance in the brain. To feel anything, it requires some sort of nudge. I have already quit smoking, but now I could smoke 3 packs a day. Having some beers helps me feel something again, but the hangovers are even worse. Not the physical ones, but the mental emptiness of it all. As someone who used to drink happily, I always wondered how someone could become dependent on alcohol. Now I see addiction as a temporary fix that fills the empty spot for a brief time. It must be something altogether different if I would have enjoyed drugs. And the fatigue. I've been constantly tired for the past 3 years. No amount of sleep cures that. I tried to sleep as much as possible and still, after a whole day and a half, I was tired. Then there's the insomnia. No matter how tired I am, getting to sleep is a challenge in itself. I tried to push myself to the limit, worked hard, took sleeping pills prescribed by my doctor, and nothing helped. And then there's the common advice: go to therapy. I've been going for the past 2 years, once a week. Therapy is not some magical cure-all solution. It's a crutch to help me function, do my work, and interact with people. Not the silver bullet it is made out to be. Additionally, chronic depression is not very common. I used to have gray periods in my life which could have been diagnosed, but those were just plateau periods. Dull, everyday kinds of things. I thought I was depressed because I was sad and lonely. It was not depression, just down times. Suicidal depression is something else completely. Story 29. I don't hate you. I never want to hang out because seeing people is often too exhausting. Story 30. How aggravating it is to be asked how you are by the same people every day when they know the answer. Story 31. It is very varied how it manifests. Sometimes you physically feel unable to do something, while other times it is mentally challenging. Just because you experienced it does not mean you understand someone else's version of it. Handling it in a certain way does not guarantee it will work for someone else. Sometimes, it takes years of trial and error with medications before you find the combination that works, all while you must keep yourself functioning at work and motivated enough to see the doctors. Story 32. Many depressed people do not appear to be depressed, so they are often overlooked. People may think, but he seems happy. They associate depression solely with sadness, low mood, and crying, when it can also manifest as restlessness, agitation, and anger. Story 33. For some, this may sound absurd. Please read it with an open mind if it resonates. My input is that depression often stems from past experiences, such as a death, a loss, or something we miss. Can also arise from concerns about the future, like the inability to buy a house, for example. Therefore, it serves as a lesson to stay present and appreciate what we currently have. We should be grateful. Story 34. My wife is visiting her dad in a couple of weeks, and she is very excited. My mom is visiting me soon. I wish I could feel excited about it. She is getting older, and I don't know how much longer we will have together. I love her dearly and would do anything for her, but I don't really care if she visits or not. I wish I did. That's just how I feel sometimes. Story 35. It is common now that very few of us spend enough time outside. Mammals need to focus their eyes in the distance for good mental health. Story 36. It is important to understand that feeling sad or low is not the same as depression. Depression is a completely different experience. It feels as if a part of your brain, the part that can believe things will ever get better, has disappeared. The ability to see or create something that feels like hope is gone. No amount of reassurance or reasons to stay alive will create the love and compassion they truly need. Losing the ability to feel hope and see a way out of depression is similar to losing the ability to see, while being told about all the beautiful colors and images in a gallery. If someone has lost the ability to see, convincing them that seeing is important will not help them regain that ability. Similarly, if someone has lost the capacity to feel hope, trying to convince them of its existence will not enable them to feel it. The best thing you can do for someone who is depressed is to be present with them in their pain, without fear or judgment, and to stay by their side. Do not pressure them to change or hide their feelings, as that will only push them further into the isolation caused by depression. I have been told that the opposite of depression is love. However, a depressed person has lost the capacity to feel love from others, even if they recognize it. Instead, it may feel like a weight or expectation. If you are around someone who is depressed, let them know you care and want to be there for them in their struggles, without pressuring them to snap out of it or recognize what they have lost the ability to do. This can be the most meaningful thing you can do, and yet it is also one of the hardest. Many people want to change the depressed person or take their depression away, but that approach often leads to further withdrawal and concealment. Allowing them to express their feelings, even if you feel compelled to suggest what they should live for, is crucial. Just being there for them is enough. Story 37. It's different for everyone. This seems obvious, but it is surprising how varied it can be when compared to others. Causes, effects, and what helps or does not help can differ significantly. Story 38. There is a scene in the three-body problem where the planet enters a trisolar syzygy. The combined gravitational forces of the three suns counteract the gravity on the planet, causing everything and everyone not secured to start floating into the sky. A few characters manage to hold onto whatever they can to delay their impending death. That's how I feel all the time. Story 39. It can affect a person so deeply that they may not want to seek help for their depression. It becomes almost a part of you at a certain point, and you might feel lonely or empty without it. I don't know why this happens. It's quite puzzling. Story 40. It's like when the only person you really have, yourself, is the one putting you down and saying you are not enough. Story 41. I wish people actually listened to what the fields of psychology and sociology say about depression instead of relying on popular culture. Much therapeutic language is distorted by individuals who prefer to speak on the matter rather than listen, which ultimately interferes with healing. The most destructive mindset I observe is when people assert that depression is a fixed circumstance and that it is simply the way they are. You are not born depressed. You are not born addicted. Certain circumstances or environments create trauma, which can lead to the development of addictions as coping mechanisms or depression as a symptom. If you do not ask yourself the questions that led you to that position, you cannot guide yourself out. Therefore, I reject the notion of a fixed condition, and I believe that claiming it is incurable is harmful and reinforces the hopelessness that people experiencing depression feel. When framed this way, depression becomes a nebulous issue that feels negative with no clear origin, and it seems impossible to overcome no matter what we do. Story 42. It's not something you get over every day. Medication can help manage symptoms but does not provide a complete cure. Depression is not something that defines a person. Story 43. It is not the same as being sad. Some days you may appear not to be depressed, but you still are. Medication can have side effects that affect many parts of your body. Depression itself can have side effects that impact various areas of your being. You may feel utterly terrified that you will experience this for the rest of your life. You will never fully understand depression unless you have experienced it yourself. Feeling sad does not equate to understanding depression. Story 44. Depression itself is not just a fleeting feeling of sadness. It is real and all-consuming, affecting every waking moment of the day. The best description I've encountered comes from another individual, which I refer to as the bat theory. Imagine you are surrounded by bats all day, every day. Sometimes they are just there, hovering overhead, and at other times they bite and scratch. When the attacks occur, you never know how long they will last, and it often feels like you might die, but you never do. It is only enough to make you hurt. Even when they are not attacking, their very presence is unsettling and frightening because you don't know when they will strike again. You try various methods to stave them off temporarily or numb yourself to their existence, but you cannot get rid of them. Every day, you are expected to perform the tasks that everyone else does, like getting a job and taking care of yourself. People who once had a pet bat or have dealt with bats in the past offer you advice on what worked for them. While some of it might be helpful, you have many more bats, so nothing seems to make a difference. Additionally, there are some who have never experienced bats firsthand. They do not believe in your struggle and tell you that you are simply not trying hard enough. They argue that others who believe in bats are able to navigate life, so why can't you? Each day is exhausting because you spend a significant amount of your energy just dealing with the bats and their consequences, which taints everything else you try to do. It is nearly impossible to watch a movie, talk with a friend, or complete the simplest chores with a swarm of bats hovering around you. No one seems to understand, and people become frustrated with your inability to function, often leaving you behind. You continue to seek help, not necessarily to rid yourself of the bats, but to learn how to manage their constant presence. Despite your efforts, even those who were once sympathetic eventually grow upset with you for not trying hard enough. Story 45. No, I'm not sad. Yes, I'm heavily depressed. It makes me angry, tired, and emotionally numb. I'm frustrated and appear indifferent, not because I don't care, but because I am depressed, not because I am a jerk. Just because I'm not crying or reflecting on some great tragedy doesn't mean it's not real. Story 46. Allowing someone to stay with you without the pressure to be overly cheerful, such as simply hanging out at a restaurant for lunch or dinner with a group of friends who are all engaged in conversation, can do wonders. Making people feel included can greatly improve their mood. Story 47. Just allowing someone to stay with you without pressure to be overly happy, such as hanging out at a restaurant for lunch or dinner with a group of friends who are all conversing, but without pressuring the depressed person to feel happy as well, can make a significant difference. Making people feel included can really improve things. Story 48. I can't just decide one day to be happier or have the energy to tell someone that I need help. A little story. My youth church pastor was talking about depression and mentioned that it's a sin not to seek help because you're wasting the life God gave you. That's not how it works. I can't just have the energy to tell someone I am depressed or suicidal. Story 49. There are two types. Exogenous, which comes from outside sources such as redundancy or divorce, and endogenous, which is internal, like a chemical imbalance. Therefore, even if someone is rich and successful, they can still experience depression. Story 50. You can't simply choose not to be depressed. All the suggestions like, just go outside, or just talk to people have never helped anyone. If those things actually worked, no one would be depressed. Story 51. People with depression have up to 2.5 times a higher chance of dying early. Suicide risk is a factor, but it is not the only one. Story 52. That's it. It's not a lack of faith in God. It's not a choice I made to have depression. I'm literally waking up and doing my very best, pushing myself every single day I'm alive. I have functioning depression, especially since I have children to care for who deserve a mom that is present with them in each moment. Just because I have functioning depression doesn't mean I am healed or faking it. Story 53. It is often mistaken for a neurological condition called pseudobulbar effect when people are diagnosed with it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.